This is the coolest piece of tech hardware that I've gotten to play with in a very long time, and if you're a power user, content creator, or streamer, this might be for you. Ever since Elgato hit it big with the Stream Deck and its eventual variants, other companies have tried to bring out their own devices to compete with that. If you're a hardware junkie like me, Cooler Master's new MasterHub presents as one of the few control surface type devices that actually has features that set it apart, namely magnets and pogo pins.
That's pretty neat.
That's right, Cooler Master has taken things modular, using various pogo pins, alignment pins, and magnets, all mating to a RGB light-up base. You can have this thing configured vertically or horizontally depending on your preference, and you can rearrange or even swap out modules, like going with the optional triple knob module or the encoder IPS display knob. So here we are at the desktop, and I wanted to show you guys a little bit of the software, because the software does look similar to the Elgato software, but let's just go ahead and show you on screen. I even mapped a button on the MasterHub to do that with. As you can see, I've already mapped some things there, and what's cool is like you can see everything here. You can use GIFs on your buttons. It's nice. You have MasterHub specific things. You have navigations you could go through on that, system stuff. So you can do text, even web URLs. So like that could be used to trigger web hooks and things like that, or just pull up web pages. On and on. You have OBS Studio, the usual for OBS Studio, source control, scene control, that sort of thing. Twitch commands, which is nice. That does integrate with Twitch natively. Master control specific stuff, and you also have Streamlabs control already integrated, so that's cool. And Photoshop. I'm gonna circle back around to the Adobe stuff, but yeah, so you have Photoshop controls. Let's see, brush tool control, layer control. In Illustrator, you have a little less, but you have function keys, copy, paste, menu keys, and also even just tools just in general, zoom in and out, selection, different tools you can switch it to, ellipse, rectangle, on and on. But also Premiere, which is where I like to play around with the most, editing for this YouTube channel, of course. And you see that there's just the normal stuff under the file menu. Edit, this part I was excited for, but it wasn't as complete as I liked. It's just some basics here. And then also you have markers you can set in there. So that's the basics of what's included with control, but also you can control the lighting of the individual modules or the base, whatever has lighting on it, and you can set that up in there. And something else I wanted to bring up is that you don't need to restart the software or do anything like that if you switch modules. You switch modules just by pulling it off and then dropping another module on. So let's do this one here, and you can see that it's going to pop up on screen right now. And it's basically just live. But now that I put the encoder on there, and might as well let's put the knobs on there, everything will recognize, come up, you hear the computer ding, and there's both modules. So let's talk about the encoder IPS display module real quick. And the thing that I wanted to do with that is like color controls, lumetri colors for editing, either photo or in Premiere, whatever the case, because having a little wheel could be very useful. But you go over to Premiere Pro and you go to edit, and you just get in and zoom in and zoom out. That's all I can do. Like, I'd like to do something more than just zoom in and zoom out with that. I could already do that on my mouse with the scroll wheel, so it's not all that useful. You can put a display on it as well, but like that's cool too. Like just adding, like I'm just gonna go ahead and add something on there, and this will show you a demonstration of how like it works as a push button or as a rotate button. You can just drag and drop, either press function or drop here for the rotate feature, and then it kind of lights up like that. And you can even adjust what's on the LCD display, just default mode, or you can put an image on there, or GPU usage, clock. You know, that'll be a popular one. But yeah, that's the basics of what you can do with the encoder button, and it's not all that different for the knobs. The knobs, you could also just do, let's say, the volume control on these knobs, so you get an additional thing if you didn't want to use the faders, for example. but like volume control on one of the knobs, and you can do that on rotate or push. I'm going to put it on rotate, and then from there you can select which application is making noise and then use the knob itself to do either volume up or volume down depending on which way it rotates. That part's pretty nice, but it's not anything that you can't already do with the stock included kit's roller wheels. So I'm going to put the faders back on, and then we'll talk about the roller wheels. And I mean, honestly, this is the coolest part of this device, is the fact that you can just pop stuff off and everything just works as soon as you pop that stuff on. And now we have these guys back. I need to ask you something. Are you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Because if you're not, hit that subscribe button, and also follow over on Twitch. Links are right over here. All right, I'm out of here. I don't like it over there. I've set up some buttons, of course, you know, like changing scenes. I have this one for like stream start scene if I wanted to do that one, or I also have this one for like a talking scene. The stuff isn't set up, it's just proof of concept right now, but it's to change scenes in OBS if you're streaming or using it for recording content like this. It works to do that with, and then you could even be like streams over and then hit the button for that one. Oh, I didn't set that button up, but I have that. But yeah, you just change scenes all on there, and then we can just come back to desktop capture, and here we are. People arrive for starting stream, DJ for talking scene, and look at him on a little keyboard for the gaming scene. Yeah. I did mention the Twitch stuff, and you can see my buttons are right there. I have clipping and I have marking, so if you're streaming and you want to capture stuff, there's your buttons. You could use them right there, and you could even have soundboard functionality. Of course, got to have the DJ air horn. Media controls work too, as you can see right there. Let's see, what do I have in the background? I can start playing stuff. And you can configure that in the software as well. So not that different from what you can get with some keyboards and having integrated media controls. But if you downsize keyboard, went with the customs, or did stuff that you no longer have access to media controls, you can regain that by using the display panel here, these buttons, and configure that up. As well, my favorite part is one of the other things that I really like about this device, the faders. Unfortunately, the faders have a little bug with the way that they interact with OBS. I'm going to move one fader right now, and you're going to see, and you can see it, well, you'll be able to hear it, as a matter of fact. Right now, when I speak and I move a fader, it's going to blow my voice out, and yeah. And then the only way to fix that is to use the rollers. So when it comes to OBS specific controls, until they fix this bug, I wouldn't recommend using the faders. One more thing I wanted to mention that is kind of a complaint is whenever I close OBS and then reopen it, well, the MasterHub software does not reconnect. And unfortunately, that means I have to go into the MasterHub software. I have to go into the settings. I have to go over here to connect it to the different things that I would connect it to. SNS accounts is where your Twitch would be, by the way. I'd have to go to OBS settings and then hit check status, and it would reconnect to the web sockets you enable in OBS in order to make this work with OBS. And it has to happen every time I close OBS and reopen OBS. It doesn't auto reconnect, and that's something that I hope Cooler Master fixes. In the software, I've configured OBS to run on these rollers, and you can see if I move the left roller, I have control of desktop audio inside of OBS separate from what I'm controlling on the computer. So that's pretty nice. You can control volume separately to your stream versus what you're hearing. And then also I can control mic, but you can also assign these to any source that you have in OBS in the software. What I mean by that is you just go over to, let's say, you go to OBS Studio, Audio Mixer, drag it on over to one of the buttons. I'm going to replace the one that I made on the right, which I had set to microphone. And then you see on the right side, mic aux is the source I want to control. Or I can control anything that's in this list. The more sources you have, the more stuff you'll have on this list. I select mic aux, scroll up is volume up, and scroll down is volume down. Save, and that's it. Now I have volume control of that button inside of OBS. Oh, not button, rather, volume control of that source using the roller in OBS. But the cool thing about the faders and the rollers and the knobs is that you can use them to control volume of anything inside of Windows, be that Chrome, Firefox, Edge, or video games specifically, or anything like that, assign them to a knob or a fader or the rollers, and there you go. You have all that control at your fingertips. So if you combine the faders and the rollers, that's a total of 7 hardware controls for your audio sources in OBS or in Windows in general. That's pretty good. Maybe I'm being a little picky here, but one downside is you can't fit everything on the bass. You have to pick and choose, and the thing that will end up likely getting kicked out is the faders, which is one of the features I like the most, because if I want the encoder display and I want the triple knobs in there, well, that's literally perfectly where these two go, and I can't fit everything on there. Otherwise, either I'm gonna have gaps or left. It doesn't work out. So maybe down the line, Cooler Master can release a base plate add-on that will let you just put the other rest of it onto the side, or maybe like a miniature plate you can connect separately. I'm not sure, but something along those lines. I do wish I can connect everything instead of having to pick and choose, but it is what it is. By now, maybe you spotted something about the software and that it's looking a little limited with not so much stuff in ways of plugins and all that stuff. It's a new product. It's Cooler Master entering a new products category, so they won't have the kind of depth of plugin support as people like Elgato and the Stream Deck and Loop Deck and their marketplaces. But we'll talk more about that here in a little bit. Cooler Master does a lot to help catch this up to the most popular functionalities of the Stream Deck, primarily OBS and lots of different macro and hotkey functionalities, and they even slightly one-up Elgato by having some basic Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, and Premiere functionality built in without having to pay anything extra. The faders and rollers end up being my favorite modules by far, so I'm happy those are included by default. The amount of volume control you get with these modules really makes for really good quality of life usage, and since they can be used to control audio sources inside of OBS, they prove useful for streaming and content creation too. Yes! I'm a big lover of buttons, using home automation and smart plug integrations with If This and That to control lighting in my studio, power to my streaming camera, and colors of my lights all around me. So the 15-button display pad does exactly what I needed to do, but it doesn't really go above and beyond aside from the modular party trick it has. The buttons themselves feel slightly nicer than a Stream Deck, but nothing to write home about. Maybe one day we'll get something like this with mechanical switches under the display buttons. Overall, the build quality is very nice, the RGB lighting is super cool, and the modularity and functionality in its current form and offerings is rather impressive.
Would you like to know more?
Unfortunately, this thing is a little expensive. MSRP will be $399 for the main kit that includes 15-button keypad, twin rollers, and 5 fader modules, then $69.99 if you want the triple knob module, and $99.99 if you want the encoder IPS display knob. There's a chance by the time you see this video that it's still in the pre-order phase, where you can get said main kit for $299 instead of $399 though. Links will be in description. I found the main unit with the default modules to have plenty of functionality, so you won't be missing much without the encoder or triple knob. No USB-C to A adapter in the box though, just straight C to C, and the stand leaves a little bit to be desired as it doesn't do much to angle it towards you. Options for devices like this are nice though, and think about it, a 15-button Stream Deck is $150. Want some faders? Well, there isn't anything that Elgato offers with faders, but you can spend $199 to get the 4 knobs on the Stream Deck Plus. That's $350 total right there, and sure, you can get just the Stream Deck Plus by itself, but then you go down from 15 buttons to 8, which will further limit you and make you rely on digging into folders and pages to access more functionality. MasterHub still comes off pricey with all that said, though you get a really nice product still.
Okay.
There are limitations with the Adobe functions that I don't like, and no current marketplace for plugins to add even more functionality. I'm sure this is stuff Cooler Master is working on getting off the ground, but right now it's not quite there. It's a good device for sure, but once plugin support gets opened up and we can get more fleshed out of a marketplace like Elgato or Loop Deck have, then this can go from being a good device to being a great device. The potential is massive.
That's good.
I'm sure you have feelings or thoughts about this device. Drop a comment down below and let's talk about it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Anyways, if you like this video, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button and that bell so you don't miss a single upload. Also, I stream to Twitch every Friday at 8 p.m. Pacific at twitch.tv/CoalitionChris. So feel free to stop by, drop a follow, and let's talk tech. Anyways, that does it for me. I'll catch you guys in the next one. My name is Chris, and I've been your stream technician. Bye.